Howdy folks, I'm Worrywart Humpback Whale, wildly wailing about worn water shoes.
I'm Amber.
And here are more worn water shoes for us to wail about. And I think the biggest travesty of all of this is the fact that whales don't even have feet. Let's get started. Alright folks, and our first letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Bolting from a Taxi Without Paying Because I Thought That I Was Getting Kidnapped? I'm a 30-year-old female and I work in Midtown Manhattan, and I live not too much further away uptown. Last night, I finished late and I was exhausted and I just wanted to go home to my dog, so I decided to hail a cab instead of taking the subway. I get in and I give the driver, M, also 30 I think, the street number. We're already on the corner avenue, so just a straight up shot. Shortly after getting in, he pulls into a right-hand turning lane only. This is odd since we only have to go straight. I ask, we're going to street number and avenue, right? He waves me off and says, yes, I think that maybe he wants to take FDR, even though it's late, there's no traffic, and no real reason not to just continue driving on ahead. But then he gets onto the Queensboro Bridge. I ask why we're leaving Manhattan when my destination is uptown. He repeats that we're going to street number and avenue. I respond that that's in Manhattan, so why are we headed towards Queens? He hands me his phone and says, put in your address. I never give my full address, so I re-enter the cross street, and he seems to ignore it. I then tell him that we need to turn around. He continues driving, even after we're off the bridge, and all we have to do is get off on one side of the road and turn around. By this point, I'm getting really scared. He's taking me deeper and deeper into Queens and turns onto Queens Boulevard. The guy is eerily calm, makes no apologies, doesn't even acknowledge the major mistake that he's made. We thankfully approach a red light, and I ask him to pull over, please. He doesn't. I look ahead, and we're about to embark onto another long, dark section of road where there are no cars or people around, still heading deeper into Queens. The light changes, and we're still not going that fast yet, so I raise my voice and say, you need to pull over now. He hesitates, but at this point, I fully think that I'm being kidnapped. So I unlock the door and I get out and I slam the door shut and make a break for it, back up the bridge/lower roadway until I reach a corner with a residential building, business, etc. What do you folks think? Was OP in the wrong here for leaving the taxi and not paying?
No, I mean this does sound very sketchy. I think OP made the right call and got out of there.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't think that OP did anything here. This was a matter of safety, and if your gut is telling you that something's wrong, then listen to your gut, especially in something as shady as this situation, right?
Right. You know, he had no reason, like even if OP's route was longer, that's just going to make him more money if they do it based on like mileage or something like that.
Yep.
You know, you have to assume that your client knows where they are going and just let them call the shots.
Yep.
It seemed like he was trying to go somewhere where he wasn't supposed to, and I'm glad OP was able to get out, and yeah, hopefully he gets in trouble for this.
Yeah, I mean, if I were OP, I would have definitely taken a picture of the license plate and tried to report this person, because this is something that they shouldn't have done, right? They were taking the wrong direction to bring OP home, and this was just a scary situation. So I think that OP was very wise, again, to go ahead and flee the cab and get out of there. The way he was so calm about it kind of tells me that maybe this wasn't his first time doing something like this. So I think that OP was more than justified. You don't have to pay someone if they aren't doing their job right, right? Like if they're taking you, you don't have to, if he had dropped you off at the wrong location, you wouldn't have had to pay him, because the contract is that he takes you to your location, right?
Right. And if you're actively fearing for your life, even if you end up at the right location, like the service is not rendered properly.
Yeah. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. And 666POD says, not the jerk. I am very familiar with Manhattan and lived and worked there. Either he was lost or he was kidnapping you. Either way, you owe him nothing. I wouldn't feel bad. If you got his license or hack number, I would report him to the TLC, Taxi and Limousine Commission, for all you non-New Yorkers. And OP replies, after we got on the bridge, I entered the destination myself, so he had the GPS set to the right place back in Manhattan. He continued in the wrong direction and taking me further into Queens. I was so scared that I didn't get the details of the taxi. Now I'm worried that it really was a legitimate kidnapping attempt and he'll try to do it again. I mean, OP can't beat themselves up over that.
No, I mean, what you do in a situation where you're kind of like stressed and panicking is like, it's not on you, incumbent on you. But maybe there's some way she can contact the company and let them know about this experience. They might be able to know who they had on schedule then.
Yeah. And background grass 429 says, not the jerk, given the situation, your actions were completely reasonable. Maybe nothing would have happened, but as I tell my daughter and both my granddaughters, if your gut is telling you that this could be a bad situation, then listen to it. Better to be wrong and safe than right and in a bad situation that you can't get out of. You did the right thing. And OP replies, thank you. This comment is very comforting and made me feel better. That was my rationale at the time, too. My mind immediately went to all the women who have found themselves in similar situations, and how we need to protect ourselves and teach one another to protect ourselves, given the world that we live in. All right, folks, and our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Giving My Number to Another Man When I Have a Boyfriend? I am driving with my windows down, and I see a car speeding up behind me. He pulls up beside my driver's side and honks, and I look over and he's talking. I couldn't hear him, so I kind of laugh and I look back at the road. He continues to honk at me, and I say, what? Motioning to my ears so I know that he can't hear me. He motions for me to pull over. I thought that something was wrong with the car, so I pull over. This man tells me that I am so fine, and he just had to get my phone number. Just FYI, I have terrible anxiety. I'm already nervous at this point, and I laugh when I'm nervous, and I say no. He asks what I'm doing and if I want to go get a drink with him, if he can take me out, etc. I tell him no, that I'm on my way to work right now. He asks if I want to get a shot, and he has liquor. I say no, and he keeps asking for my number. At this point, I'm shaking, my hands are shaking, and my knee is bouncing uncontrollably. I say okay, so that I can just leave in the least uncomfortable way possible. In my mind, that was the easiest way out. He says that he's going to call me right now to make sure that I gave him my number. So I did. He kept asking when he could see me again, and I say, I don't know. And he finally says, okay, and puckers up his lips at me, expecting me to kiss him. I say no, and he gets back into his car. I pull off. I look into my mirror to make sure that he isn't coming the same way as me. He wasn't. I call my boyfriend immediately and tell him everything. His reaction was basically, that's weird, random, okay. We hung up, and my boyfriend texts me, I'm not going to lie, that kind of makes me mad. I say, what? He says the whole thing. What about that seemed okay? How would you feel if I did the same thing? You didn't tell him that you had a boyfriend, and you didn't give him a fake number. Men call right then and there to see if you are actually interested in them and talking to them. Or even just tell him that you're not interested and don't want to give him your number. I just responded with, wow, I couldn't even wrap my mind around all this. I explained that I came to him, my boyfriend, as I was shaken and shocked at the weird situation, and his response to me was to be mad at me for not knowing how to handle it. I expressed that I came to him, and he made me feel like I couldn't. I tried explaining that I didn't give out my number willingly. He says that I could have driven off or done a number of things. He says that I wouldn't have been okay with it if he had given his number to a woman who was clearly hitting on him, and that's a double standard. He goes on to tell me that women can just be as evil as men, and starts to tell me situations that he's been in with women doing things without consent. I know women can do the same kinds of things. What upsets me is that he wasn't even understanding me. I'm not saying that I should have given my number. I just wanted to get out of there, and I tried to end the conversation. He says that I can't admit that I was wrong, and that I shouldn't have done that, and that I can't even apologize for it. Asking how I think that makes him feel. Saying that I'm not willing to acknowledge his feelings because I feel justified. I don't think that I have any reason to apologize. I just stopped responding to him at that point. But am I the jerk? All right, folks, what do you think?
No, not the jerk. I mean, Opie was in a situation with a man who was not taking no for an answer.
Mm-hmm.
The important thing was to get out of that situation as fast as possible.
Yeah.
If she were to get aggressive or to give him a wrong number, like he's calling right there, he's going to know if it's a wrong number. He might start getting aggressive and, pushier, and so her boyfriend's thing about, well, you wouldn't like it if I took a number from a girl. If it was a situation where he was actively being coerced, I'm sure OP would feel differently than a situation where it's just a random person handing him a number.
Yeah, I mean, if she was like, threatening him physically with
Mm-hmm.
physical violence, I'm sure OP would be pretty
Yeah,
understanding
like
about that,
pulls
right?
out a weapon and is like,
Yeah.
"Give me your number."
Yeah. So I think that OP was justified in what they did. They were trying to get out of a bad situation, and they did it in a way that made sense. And as for like the whole interaction that she had there, generally is not a great idea. But I mean, that's not entirely like fair because I have waved people over before because like I've seen like them have a flat or something like that.
Well, that's the thing. Is like there are well-intentioned people and there are people who aren't well-intentioned, and it's hard to know who is who.
Yeah. So, but the way he was doing this was very aggressive, and I think that again, like OP can't be faulted for not knowing better. She thought that maybe there was something wrong with her
Well, yeah,
car,
like if
and
someone thinks they're like, "Oh, my car is about to explode" or something,
yeah,
like if they might be waving aggressively because something's on fire or something looks really bad.
yeah. So again, I can't blame OP here, but um, this is just not a great situation, and I think that their boyfriend isn't being a very good boyfriend, and
Yeah.
maybe OP needs to reconsider this relationship at this point in time.
Mm-hmm.
But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. All right, folks, and our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Ending an 8-Year Friendship After My Cameras Recorded Her in My Home When I Was Out of Town? Backstory, my friend and I met when I was her hairstylist. Then we realized that we only lived about 6 blocks apart. Due in part to the proximity, we became very close and she would stop by 3 or more times a week. We enjoyed a lot of the same kind of crafts and we had a mutual love of plants, so we often worked together in my yard or hung out by my fire pit. She had a lot of constant personal relationship crises, which I always pointed out that she brought upon herself. And it became more and more exhausting to spend time with her. Consequently, I slowly tried to limit our time together, although I did care about her and I knew that she didn't have many other friends. Okay, so I just went out of town to visit my daughter at college, but before I left, I installed the new security system that I had received. It didn't really occur to me to mention it to anyone. When I was with my daughter, I told her about it, and we got on the phone so that I could teach her how to watch the cameras at home as well. We have 2 cats, and she wanted to be able to see and interact with them. I was showing her how to see the clips from the motion detected earlier in the day. It was nighttime, so the house was dark, in which case the camera lights are on for detection. In the clip from 2 hours earlier, I noticed my friend walking through my house with a flashlight of her phone. She was inspecting every drawer, cupboard, nook, and cranny. My daughter and I were in shock. I texted her immediately. I asked if she was in my house today, and she replied that she had been in the backyard picking up sticks, apparently for a fire pit that she intended to have at her home later that evening. Again, I asked her if she had been in the house. She responded that she had to go into my garage to look for a container, and then I told her that I had security cameras now. She laughed and asked why I was even asking her that then, because I had obviously seen her already in the backyard. She had no clue that I installed them inside of the house, so I had sent her a screenshot and asked her if she knew who that person might be in my house with a flashlight. She waited a few moments to respond and then said, "Oh yeah, your cat got out." I asked her how my cat would get out if nobody was in the house, and she responded, "Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot that I was looking in your house to get some gel pens because I needed to do some artworks." I reminded her that she had just bought 100 of them the previous week. At this point, I was getting really mad. I told her that I was freaked out, that I saw her sneaking around my house with a flashlight, and that made me really uncomfortable. She kept on laughing it off. Then she realized that I was really upset. She changed her tune to one of remorse and said that she just needed to find something to do because she was upset with her boyfriend. And I told her that I didn't think that I could spend time with her anymore because I had spent years trying to teach her about boundaries and our friendship, and it was being exhausting to me. So I was telling my story to this guy that rents my basement, and he said that she is at my house every time that I'm out of town. He was used to seeing her around, so he thought that maybe I had asked her to do something there. 2 weeks later, she texted me needing some relationship advice and acted like since we were so close, it shouldn't be a big deal. I told her what my basement renter had said, and I was super mad at this point. She became very offended and said that it was nobody else's business and that I should not have told anybody about it. I told her that our friendship was definitely over and not to contact me again. I told her that I was removing myself from toxic people. Later, I was talking to one of my other friends, also a client, about it, and they kind of made me feel like I was not a very good friend because I needed to have a talk with her and forgive her. They said that people make mistakes and I needed to forgive her and she should get another chance. Since it was exhausting for me anyways, I just can't bring myself to want to have anything to do with her. Am I the jerk? P.S. She did not have a key. I did not always lock my back garage door. Lesson learned. And a small update here. The reason why I second guessed myself is because of my own weak boundaries. I felt sorry for her and thought that it probably wouldn't happen again, but that was before I found out that she had done it many times before. And my other friend told me that I should forgive her, is just super kind and loving. I know I made the right decision, but of course there's still a sadness of loss and what I thought was a 8-year friendship. I appreciate all the comments and I feel good about the decision I make. Yes, doors are locked and security is in place. All right, folks, what do you think? Jerk or not the jerk?
Absolutely not the jerk. Someone who goes creeping around your house without you knowing is not your friend. There are any number of things she could have been doing there. Like, sure, it's possible she was just bored and didn't have anything better to do with her time, but she also could have been canvassing your house for things to take. Yeah, maybe like little things. Because it sounds like she's done this regularly. It could just be taking little things here and there and she doesn't think OP would notice. Or she could have been like scouring the house layout for a bigger heist at some point. Any number of things.
Or she could also be looking for substances to steal, right?
That's true.
Now, I'm pretty concerned by her behavior here, and I think that they're given like everything, the full big picture here, that this isn't the first time that she's done this and that this is a pretty regular occurrence, that I would be pretty concerned if I were OP. And I think that they should examine the stuff they have and make sure that something hasn't just gone missing, right? Or if things have gone missing and they couldn't figure out where they went, now they have a good answer about that. Now, if she wanted to go over to OP's house while OP was out of town, then the answer is to text OP or call them and say, hey, do you mind if I hang out in your house? I needed some space from my boyfriend, right? At that point in time, OP would have probably been fine with that because, or maybe not, but I mean, like that at least gives OP the chance to say yes or no.
Right. And I mean, I feel like when you're bored, if like you went to someone else's house to get away from someone, you'd probably just like sit and watch TV or use the internet or something. You wouldn't go canvass their entire house.
Yeah, the canvassing is what really concerns me because that feels like bad behavior.
Right. Like if she just sat on the couch the whole time watching TV, like that wouldn't be okay, but like I could accept that maybe she was just having a spat with a boyfriend and needed to get out.
Yeah. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. All right, folks, it is tea time. Grab your beverages of choice. I've got some tea right here, and Amber, she has a joke.
What might you call an affectionate butterfly?
Oh, I can tell you exactly what I would call an affectionate butterfly. So, you see, a butterfly walks into a bar, and it has to put its wings behind its back because, like, you know, butterflies, that's really hard to walk through doors when you're walking through, you know, ant-sized doors, right? And walks up to the bartender who happens to be an ant, and the ant says, hey, what can I get you, right? And the butterfly says, well, you know, I am not really familiar with an ant bar or dive. What kind of things you got here? And so the ant looks at the butterfly and says, well, I've got some butter here, and because, you know, you look like the kind of person or butterfly that would like butter. I've also got some nectar over here, and I have some water. And so the butterfly, you know, looks at their options and says, none of this stuff looks appealing to me at all, except for maybe the nectar. And so the ant gives the butterfly the nectar, and the butterfly drinks it, and they are a happy butterfly now. And so I guess what you would call a butterfly who, you know, does something like this, you know, a nectar drinking butterfly.
A huggy buggy.
Oh, a huggy buggy?
And today is Hug Day.
Oh, yeah, and I forgot to finish the joke. And the butterfly, after it got done drinking the nectar, was so happy about this that it gave the ant a hug. And the ant, despite its nature, didn't drag the butterfly back to the nest and eat the butterfly, and so there was actually a happy ending here. And I have licorice spice.
That just got horrifying for a minute, almost.
All right, folks, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for watching. Happy, wonderful Wednesday, Hump Day, Friday, Junior's Eve. Amber, we need some kind of moral advice and or guidance, and please have it in the form of a haiku for Haiku Wednesday.
Stay away from creeps. It may make it hard to sleep knowing where they've been.
There you have it, folks. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you all tomorrow.
Bye.